Good morning, folks. Good morning, members of the media. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, those other we're waiting for a few more persons to come, but we'll start. Waiting so I can press record. So, because a few members of the media, they expressed that they're not able to get it. Miss Marshall is saying she's not able to get it, so we'll record so that she can have access to it after. Okay. No problem. Wait, is it a problem on our end of the curriculum, or we're not getting it? No, she's doing that. She doesn't have Zoom on her. I know whichever device she's using, they have a problem. Y'all can hear me? Yes, sir. Loud and clear. All right, good. Here. So I'm just waiting to give me the vote so I can record and start giving a statement. Morning. For the house and all of that. So second again, so that we have I missed the part of the thing that the information is not able to get in. I can't. I'll send you a screenshot of the question when you come out, so you'll see what is the exact. All right, Dennis. All right, you didn't do bad. I struggle
Why get it? Just like you part of the girl.
Yeah, I'm not gonna struggle too long because I'm chronologically not at the time.
You are. Hello, you're younger than me, rest yourself. Adaptable. Adapt, right?
Guys are being streamed live. The 11 o'clock press conference should be 11 o'clock, and technical issues should be fixed before
I
that.
am ready,
Right.
Mr. Ben.
Thank you. Yeah.
We are.
Excuse me, can anyone say whether this also be live stream?
Yes, I'm putting it live on my Facebook page.
Does the press conference be live stream?
It's going to be on my Facebook page streaming live. I don't know if the Zoom is hooked up to any other streaming arrangement.
To answer Dennis' question, Dennis, yes, I'm Ben Shop here. I'm streaming it live at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Good, Dennis. All right, so just to have you guys know that yes, let me just welcome you guys to this press conference out in Linden. The mayor of
Good morning again, folks. Again, sorry for the delay.
Mr. Solomon.
Welcome to this morning's press conference. My name is Randolph, which I'll be your moderator this morning. We'll start with the presentation by the then, of course, we'll head into any questions that you may have. I'll hand you over to the worship. The Mayor of Linden, Mr. Sharma Solomon, go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Critchlow, and thanks for your patience, everyone. The statement that is going to be presented, in fact, we are putting this in a three-parts presentation. The issues within the town of Linden, we would want to get them to the attention of the public as they are indeed perceived and of matter of urgent concerns. Some of them are. So we'll look at the issue of the migrant matter. We'll look at
recording in progress
is within the concern of the road, and the town council a year ago had asked for a certain income index to be done survey. So I'll put forward those three presentations, starting with the issue of the migration issue or migrant situation within the town of Linden. And I want to say that the town of Linden is calling for a closer collaboration between the local authorities and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to effectively address the growing migrant situation in the town of Linden, where in January we were told no such situation exists, and only a week ago confirmed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs that we do have such a situation. This call follows a statement by the Minister that is acknowledging that such a situation exists, but more so, overlook the challenges posed by the influx of the displaced migrants into the Linden community. I would like to express that our town promotes a compassionate response to this situation, while highlighting the urgent need for collaboration and coordination to ensure that both migrants and local residents are supported. Linden is compassionate. We have the values of human understanding and dignity. However, we must ensure that our local resources and infrastructure are able to support both our local citizens and those seeking refuge and displaced individuals. This is a significant challenge that requires a collaborative and coordinated effort in line with our international understanding and obligations. I'd like to stress the importance of the involvement of local stakeholders in the affairs to ensure that the local authorities, non-governmental organizations, and community leaders are in development of a compassionate response plan. We encourage the minister to work closely with the town. Our leaders are prepared, as we had highlighted matters of these since last year, 2023, the month of December, at the referendum held in Venezuela. We understand our humanitarian obligations. Our tongue, however, need the necessary tools so as to provide the resources within that humanitarian context to migrant while safeguarding the interests of our residents. We want to emphasize the need for a balanced approach. The municipality of Linden reiterates our commitment to the town to uphold its responsibilities to have all residents, both new and long-standing, with the vital resources and solutions that respect the needs of our citizens, maintain public order, and ensure that Linden remains a united and strong community during this time. I want to express once again our concerns on this matter are twofold. First, we understand our international obligation as to the many conventions signed by the government of Guyana. We understand as part of our humanitarian support for those who are seeking refuge and in need of desperate shelter, especially those fleeing from economic hardship, that this town, Linden, is prepared to do whatever it is necessary in line with international obligations such as the International Organization for Migration and the International Human Rights Organization, where we can fulfill those mandates. However, we ask the government through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to ensure that the town, in relation with working with the minister and his unit designated specifically to address these concerns, can have that understanding of that commitment to our international partners. But as a sovereign nation and as a commitment to our own people, it becomes important so that we address issues that may provoke such matters as xenophobia, promote such matters as fear and intimidation where there are none, but to bring calm and to bring ease based on the available resources such as information and a better cordial working relation so that we can address this issue where the ministry and the government had noted early never existed and has now become one of major concern. That for me ends the first part of our statement. We'll take the second part of the statement. As the media and the public is aware, we're addressing a matter of the Nikadak Road and the issue of the condition of that road, and also the materials that were brought to our attention that is being used on that road. And we'd like to express our concern following the meeting last Saturday held at the Tupa Club, where the decision, though highlighted of the state of the road, was refused by the Minister of Public Works to upgrade the access road, which has now become a major thoroughfare with thousands of vehicles traversing as recent as Monday. Despite the urgent need for the improvements due to the increased flow of traffic and the human materials used, the harmful materials used in recent maintenance efforts, the residents of Linden have long relied on this access road, which has become a lifeline for our community. And as traffic continues to rise, it is unfortunately that this road in the current state is inadequate to handle the volume and is now a serious public health and safety concern. The materials being used to upkeep the road, as outlined by Councillor Betchman at our last statutory held in September, explain that over the past several months, in fact, 2.5 years, materials removed from areas where high concentrated of deposits were deposited in the aluminum plant area were being used by contractors hired by the Ministry of Public Works to maintain that road. Samples collected and which were shared demonstrated that high concentrated of toxic elements which pose risks to the well-being of our citizens were found in those materials. I'd like to urge the Minister of Public Works to reconsider the decision and work in the best interest of the community. We cannot compromise the health and safety of our residents. A proper upgrade and capping of this road is not just for the infrastructure issue. It is a matter of protecting the environment and public health. The town of Linden stands ready to collaborate with the ministry to find solutions that will address these concerns. Let us not forget, the minister at the last meeting Saturday committed to have water suppression, or in fact dust suppression mechanisms that will be employed to ensure that the current dust condition of that road is addressed. To date, those systems are not in place. So currently, the state of the road in terms of dust and the actual infrastructure remains the same, while the materials emitting from that road is, as presented, likely to contain toxic elements. We cannot compromise the health of our residents. It is a matter that we protect the environment and public health. The town is prepared to be in collaboration to ensure that we promote this and any other initiative promoted by the ministry. We reiterate the need for an urgent resolution and warned that the current situation could worsen if not addressed properly. The increased traffic has already strained the roads to capacity, and without the necessary upgrades, the long-term impact could be catastrophic, and we call on the Minister of Public Works to prioritize the safety and health of the people of Linden. We remain committed in ensuring we advocate for the necessary upgrades and ensure that the residents' concerns are heard. I will read the third part of the presentation, which deals with early last year, the council had initiated to have a few index done in the community, which allows for us to set public policies. As we recognize, many times we are entering the public policy crafting. We are doing so on a qualitative approach of information, and there is an absence of a quantitative approach of information. It is in that first meeting of last year, the newly elected council of the municipality of Linden recognized the critical need for a comprehensive understanding of town's economic, socio-economic landscape. And a formal request was made to the Bureau of Statistics for the most recent national census. However, the council has yet to receive this response 1 year on. Without reliable and updated information on our socio-economic conditions, the council and key stakeholders, including the Regional Democratic Council, the Chamber, the Regional Tourism Association, we are now faced with difficulties in making informed decisions relating to resource allocation, policy development, and the social programs within the town. To address this data gap, there is a need, and an urgent one, for a socioeconomic household index survey. This survey will assess household income, living conditions, and economic challenges, providing the council with evidence required to address this disparity and promote effective local governance. Linden, as a regional town council, has diverse economic, socioeconomic conditions that reflect both its industrial history and the ongoing transition to new economic models. The lack of comprehensive and current data on household income and socioeconomic conditions poses a significant barrier to effective management of resources and the development of targeted social programs. In response to this challenge, the Fifth Council of the Linden Municipality initiated and will conduct a socioeconomic household survey index over the this weekend, to gather the necessary data. The survey, which will sample households across all 8 constituencies of Linden, aims to provide accurate insights into the financial realities faced by residents. 12 households per constituencies selected using a systemic sampling method will participate in ensuring a broad representation of economic conditions across the town. The methodology involved in collecting the data, both in person and virtually, this will be done over the 2-day period within the month of October, this weekend. Councillors and stakeholders within the religious community and business community will play an active role in gathering this information, led by several senior pastors within our constituencies, with questionnaires designed to capture income level, employment status, and other socioeconomic indicators. The ultimate goal is to support more informed policy making, enable effective resource allocation, and design social programs that address income disparities and improve the overall quality of life of the people of Linden. This activity, though limited in scope as a preliminary step, aligns with the national efforts to collect economic data, ensuring that Linden's socioeconomic profile is represented at broader levels of governance. By establishing a broad base and a baseline household income index through this survey, the Council will be in a better position to track trends over time, make the necessary policy adjustments, and also work towards an equitable development of Linden in coordination with national benchmarks, and promote support of any government program and any government initiative where governments see the need to intervene in the lives of the people of Linden. And I will open now for questions on those 3 aspects of the statements. And if any question, Mr. Pritchlow, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for your update, of course, on the Nikedock Road, the migrant situation, of course, that survey that the council is going to embark on. We encourage you to use the raise hand feature. I see Mr. Adam Harris, sorry. Adam Harris is already there. Mr. Harris, you can go ahead.
A very good morning, everybody. Mr. Mayor, I heard you talk about the migrant situation. Of course, the initial official position was that there were no migrants in Region 10.
Yes.
Now that the mayor and town council have the resources to undertake the migrant issue, why is it that it is expected, or why do you expect that Linden should play host to these migrants, bearing in mind that 1, the council is often starved of resources, and 2, I don't think that is your responsibility.
I think your question is very fair, and I'll put 2 perspectives to that. First, that the responsibility to the people of this town becomes our first focus. And as you said, not having a responsible approach to this by central government, where we heard the Minister of Home Affairs clearly in Parliament said we had no such issue. And then the Minister of Foreign Affairs is uncovering that in a 2-day exercise last weekend. It means then in that level of irresponsible behavior, a responsible local government must then step in, as we have within our environment and our community a level of uncertainty, and we don't want it to escalate a level of fear. So if stepping in, it first allow what you see happening to happen, attention to be brought to the matter. So I think we have done a very good job in bringing that first to the not only the government, but to the national attention. And second, we understand our obligation where government already have units and committees within the ministry to ensure that these sort of engagements are done. Nevertheless, what we are uncovering is that those agencies and departments were never activated to deal with the issue in Linden, even though we have placed this on record since December. So now those agencies are getting involved again, which allows them to now work with local authorities. And what we have been propagating since December is for government to use the framework that is in those international treaties, such as the International Organization on Migration and any human rights convention. Those frameworks are very clear on how local leaders and local communities can participate in ensuring they promote and support displaced people. But you ask why the council also is involved, and this is really the second major part. Because we have a community where resources are limited, and to help us to strengthen the institution of the council and to build its capacity is what we believe the government and the ministry can also help us to do. So that if we have to have interpreters, we have to have foreign language persons to help the council. So those things we also want the public, the Linden public, to understand where you see migrants should not pose an issue except it is properly addressed by the government. So when we are competing for resources, such as you see people bulldozing land for Lindeners, and those same lands in communities are now being occupied for squatting by migrants, pose a serious problem. But from the initial position of the government, the Minister of Foreign Affairs could have done a far better job in handling this matter.
Thank you. Yeah,
Sorry.
Mr. Robert, you can follow up. You can quick up.
A quick follow-up. Now, I read in the press that during an altercation or discussion or whatever you want to call it, one of the ministers said that the Linden people wanted a certain amount of money to do some jobs, and the Venezuelans are taking $3,000 to do the same job. Now, how have these migrants been able to access the local job market?
I think it's most unfortunate, again, as I said, the way the minister is not only dealing with this matter, but the way he's responding to it. It seems most undiplomatic for most senior diplomat that is the face of Guyana to be in that sort of undiplomatic position to respond to a reporter and then not to give clarity to what the report is saying. So the minister accepted we have a migrant issue. The minister accepted, in essence, what he is doing is settling those migrants into the community without the local authorities and their involvement by saying they are meaningfully implied, gainfully implied, they're not they're squatting, but they're not in squalors, you know, and then to be so callous and disrespectful, as if to say, we in Linden are squatters, we are lazy, we don't want to work. When you have brought an imbalanced social disruption to our community without much preparation. And that is really the sort of very reckless approach to this matter that the council saw the need to step in so that we can bring some level of stability on what we see as our need to take care of our people, but to still answer the call of ensuring we provide sanctuary to those who are desperately needy. So you're making the point about the minister's behavior. I would like not to get too much in that because I think the minister have demonstrated his role is really to be in the office and not be out in the fields because he would have blundered this particular matter beyond what we are seeing right now.
Mr. Chabral, the Moral Waves.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Mayor. First of all, let me say whether you had formally requested assistance from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or any other government agency, and secondly, what tools exactly do you need to assist the Venezuelans, and thirdly, about how many Venezuelan migrants are estimated to be in Linden at this time.
So I'll start from the many to the tools to the engagement. We have looked across Linden and we've identified pockets within primarily 3 locations. And I wouldn't want to identify except those that are out in the press. A large concentration being Amelia's Ward. And there are 2 other or 3 other locations over the Wisma community. And based on what we have, and this is where you ask about tools, and I'll come to that shortly. But this is where we have, in a rapid approach in our constituencies, been able to acquire information of settlement pattern, of the amount of migrants, of their employment arrangement. And mind you, the unit within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should have had an activated arm that allows for every local authority within the different departments of government in local constituencies to plug into that. So we would have known education, health, and anything of the migrants, except it is the municipality based on our councillors and activists who have brought this information in, and it is now being responded to. And the amount of persons over the December to this period where we heard Minister Ben said no migrants to now, it's an estimated about 600 population from those 3 locations. The tools to deal with that, it's very simple. They're very, as I said, the international organizations, especially the Organization for Migration, have outlined clear ways in how to track migrants and how to get them to be able to register. And at this point, we have to call them displaced citizens, displaced individuals, because we have not given national clear classification of who the status and how those status are going to be assigned. But those type of things would give us the tools to be able to proper track, to proper get them to be part of, to allow them to be integrated into, and even allow tools such as the barriers of language and things like that that will help us to get those sort of information of data and tracking so that we could be able to do our job. International Organization on Migration is very clear on the sort of mechanisms and framework that are in place. And it's a very surprising situation that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, instead of coming to us with these sort of approaches that are already established and with the existing unit in the agency that will allow us to have the necessary tools, as you asked, to be able to deal with this. Because Linden should not be exceptional. Every other region, as said by Minister Ben and Minister Todd, have systems in place. Region 1, their shelters, their integration project programs, the municipality and the RDC are part of. Then why is Linden not treated in the same way when we are prepared to collaborate, to work, to help our people to understand, and to support where we have an application necessary? And then you asked the other question about engagement with the ministry. No, we have not formally engaged the ministry. Because I say this because only of recent the matter became an urgent issue. After December referendum, we held several forums where we invited the ministry. The ministry was invited. We had present at one of the forum, Mr. Carl Greenwich, Mr. Ronald Austin, and several other persons, and the invitation was sent to that said unit in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to have a Ms. Dannett Street to be part of the forum. So yes, we made earlier engagements with the government to highlight what we said in December, that we do have a migrant population, and they did not participate. However, we continue as we are now, and what have now been made public by the said Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that we do have a migrant population. It is again, like the road, like this, it is what the council can only do, which is to bring to the attention of the public and to see the way it's being addressed. We hope that we can participate to ensure that it is addressed better. So yes, on those 3 matters, we did make engagement with the government since early December for them to participate in our forum to discuss the issues with the migrants.
A clarification, Mr. Mayor. You talked about approaching this on its streets that you had this privilege and so on.
Well, the
this
letter
about
was sent. The letter was sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and that was the first we were told was going to come to the program.
Right. What I'm trying to find is was this about a border matter about specifically migrants? Because
So that so
deals with border matters.
no, well, I am told different. The street is also part of this issue with Venezuelan migrants. So Venezuela as a general topic in our forum in December dealt with 5 aspects in the forum. The forum looked at the time the referendum, it looked at our geopolitical relevance to what is happening in Venezuela. It looked at the migrant issue. It also looked at the 1899 border controversy and the issue before the ICJ. And it also focused on what was going to happen moving forward in things such as the Argyle Agreement. We have a good understanding because I'll tell you why this matter is so important to Linden. And this is our articulation when we had our motorcade. Linden held a motorcade in December with thousands of people on the streets to bring awareness on this matter. And I had that on my Facebook post because we in our consciousness understand that in the change of the thinking of the Venezuelan government, Region 10 over the Essequibo is the new border, even though we have not promoted losing it 63,000 square miles. We are not promoting we lose that. We are saying, however, that type of thinking will make people want to bring an influx based on fear and concern into Linden. And that is where the migrant conversation started. Because we were talking about internal and external people at the amplification of the referendum, and people were concerned that may want to enter Region 10. And our concern at the time is that we don't have the capacity and we don't have institutions to address if people start to come in. And today, December, we are having this conference to address the cities.
Well, what I'm trying to get from you, Mr. Mayor, as it stands now, we should formally write to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and ask for assistance to deal with the migrant issue. And as
we will, Dennis, and I can say without getting into detail, we have been in contact with several international organizations who have expressed the concern of how the matter is being handled. And we've also been advised on some approach that we want to encourage the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including to have that unit that is really specifically designed to deal with the migrants, to get involved. So the correspondence or the approach or the appeal is to say to the ministry and the minister, get that unit involved so that it allows itself to do its work, which is usually working with local authority and local leaders, so that these matters could be addressed. So we will take that approach.
And quickly, Mr. Mayor, I have been asking a lot of questions. Which laboratory conducted the test, and why was he contacted about this issue? Because up to last night, the executive director said that it was the first time he made the party.
You're breaking up one. You talk about the lab, but you kind of broke up there, Dennis.
Yeah, which laboratory has conducted the tests, and why was the EPA contacted about the dust pollution and the problems with the various traces of poisons? And quickly a follow-up to one of my earlier questions. Could you paint for us a picture? What are the living conditions like for the migrants in Linden?
All right, so the samples that were done that were presented to council were taken by Councillor Betchune and sent to several labs in support with work that he is doing for both sides. So that is the first approach that allowed us to take those sampling serious. Councillor Betchune is the senior environmental officer at both sides, who would conduct on behalf of both sides around the communities at open sites of bauxite mining in the past, sampling. So those samples were also taken from some of those locations. Now, one of the things, and the council, this fifth council is working to ascertain, and coming from Councillor Betchun, who served as the deputy mayor then, is that this is not a new matter. And this matter was brought up at the fourth council and reported to the EPA. So we are looking for those correspondence and minutes of the meeting to confirm if long before now, this was indeed an issue raised in terms of the materials being used not only on that road, because the objection at council was because Linden would have acquired so many open pit mining and sedimentation of deposits of waste material. We must be careful of those contractors who are moving those materials. And that is why the council had asked for sampling to be done around the town, so that we know where possibly those materials may be, and advise not only contractors, but residents who may be living and squatting in some of those areas, as we see now in Alumina Plant, where we had, while regional chairman, we had the need to remove asbestos. Since then, we see persons moving in those locations and squat. So it is the attention that was brought is not only recent based on what we have been told. It is one that is wider beyond the road, but the materials that is being used on that road and many other locations within the town. So the EPA position on this, though we are grateful to see them investigating now, the fact that this matter have been brought to the attention likely before in the fourth council and now of the materials being used, it is a little disappointing and dangerous that we have to wait until the investigation. While the road is in use, a complaint with samples are on the table, and that road is being used in the meantime. That is our concern, one. And two, the fact that the road is now a major road, it should have been upgraded so as to ensure that the dust pollution that is going to be created by that road, which is now going to have 100 times more transportation, should have been dealt with, and we had an earlier response from the government. So that is in information on the lab, the EPA. And you asked about the condition of the migrants. As far back as we had looked at the situation, there are a couple areas where they are concerned. The migrants are squatting. We had conversations with some persons who live in inner communities like Silvertown. Some migrants have moved and are renting community spaces in communities. Again, Linden is a very hospitable area. So people are living, people are welcoming. However, the sort of concerns that we are seeing when you go to outer communities like in those areas in Wisman, even some parts of Amelia's Ward, where the living condition have caused residents who reported in staff reviews to be concerned whether people are coming to their rooms and asking for food. What we are aware of is that we have business people who are working with officials to settle these migrants into jobs and also give resources for them to have materials to build homes. Again, this is an off-the-book arrangement that is being facilitated by officials and business people. Why? Because these business people are getting some cheap labor from these migrants. And I can tell you that many of our workers, including the Bambia Primary School, would have had Venezuelan migrants to a large extent.
Mr. Harris, I see your hand.
Yeah, yes, sir. Mayor, the Nagadak Road, is that a public road or a municipal road? If it's either one, who is the public road? It's a public road, all right.
It's a public road that is a public road that's being maintained by the Ministry of Public Works. And the concern expressed by Councillor Pechu is that during the past 2 years of maintenance, that particular contractor is using materials that may not be from areas designated to use for road construction.
And who is the contractor, sir? Is he a Lindener or
No, it's not a Lindener. It's not a Lindener. And the ministry would have at one time had their own personal equipment and materials to maintain the road. They've removed that, and newly a contract is there, and that's why we are not aware as to who the contract. Newly being relatively new as of the past 2 years.
Any more questions? I don't see any hands.
I have one more question, but I don't know if there's anybody else.
Go ahead, Mr. Harris.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Mayor, in addition to the problem with the migrants and the road, I remember not so long ago, you had a serious problem, flooding, erosion, and destruction of property and all of that. What has happened to those affected residents and communities? How has the municipality impacted the way forward for these people? And what support did you get, or are you getting from the government?
I thank you for that question, Adam. In fact, that would have been a fourth part of the press conference this morning. My aided assistant did not put forward the actual information on floods because I'm actually having a meeting at 4 o'clock that I'll be streaming live on my phone in the community of the alleys, first, second, and third alley, as far as the area of Sunflower and Focus Street, addressing those residents who were flooded for 4 seasons within the 4-month period between May to now. Last Saturday, we held a meeting with some of those residents in the Blueberry Hill community that were affected. And based on the feedback from those meetings, I'll give you the 2 aspects of how we had approached this particular aspect of the floods. The infrastructure side that should have been responded to with the urgency that any government that recognizes there were emergency issues should have intervened. That was not done. And it provided those who believe we could have negotiated with the government on an emergency to allow the government to get away from that urgent intervention of a system that needed massive maintenance and overhauling, which is our current drainage system. That was not done. Engineers came up, they find, look wrong. Nothing to date is done, and we're at the mercies of any major rain once again. So we are still concerned that those things need to be done. And secondly, the sufferings of those persons over the past several periods, we believe, again, as an emergency, needed to be intervened with. The amount of money over those 2 periods represents almost $200 million that the municipality would have went out to aggregate from those persons who were affected across 7 communities of Nikadak, Amelia's Ward, West Watuka, Blueberry Hill, the alleys, the valleys, and the city. Those areas, an accumulated amount of $200 million in damages have been noted to the Prime Minister and the government of Guyana, who have said to us that they don't pay compensation. The Linden people are not asking for compensation. We're asking for a relief that says in anywhere in this world you had an emergency, persons would have intervened, except what was the relief given? Would have been a few zinc sheet and the repairing of the roof for those who suffered by the storm that we last had, and not those flooding that we had continuously and repeatedly. So we have already said that those 2 issues are inadequately addressed. The way the government is responding to the infrastructural side of the need to ensure there's no flooding, and the social side of those who suffered and what they've got. Now, what the municipality recommends, that the urgent intervention of those infrastructural works be done now. That those engineers that were sent up and identify all those black focus culverts, because we're coming into what the municipality can and cannot do. We cannot do that. And ensuring the maintenance of the drains are done. That's the first short-term approach. The medium-term approach would be the council have already moved to hire a consultant. We've already established the terms of reference to take that for public expression, where we can have someone to come in and do a more in-depth analysis of the drainage network, the flow structure and patterns within the town of Linden. As Linden is in a hilly sand and clay community, and over the years we have contractors who are designing drains and engineers and are not too acquainted with how to construct in this very unique environment. So we need that sort of technical guidance for that. But more than that, Linden is also with 19 creeks, 20 swamps, 80 lakes. It's a very saturated community with water. We have about 15 springs, 9 over Wisma alone. So we need an hydrologist also who could participate in that same studies so as to guide the community on how water is causing the type of erosion, the type of drainage structure and systems that must be laid down, so that we don't have to now lose a 200 million with the slightest flooding. And we don't have to spend money on infrastructure that we have to dig up and maintain instead. But you can put the investment now based on what comes out of that report so that we make wise and proper investment. And the third thing on the long term, we know that climate change is real. We know the issue that we have to preach a little more on the mitigating side, on how people are going to build, how people are going to ensure that we respond to the long-term and adverse effect of climate change. So those would be our three approach to the issue of flooding. But this afternoon at 4, I'll be in the area of Forest Alley to address few residents, quite a few, on those two forest matter: the infrastructure inadequacy of the response to the government and the social inadequate response to their suffering.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if there are any other questions. If there are no other questions, you want to say thank you very much to Ms. Solomon, the Mayor of Linden. Of course, thank you very much to the media officials who are here and those persons who are joining us online.
Just before you go, Brenda, after me just again to update. I didn't hear any questions on it, but just let them know our numerators or counters for the survey will be out this weekend. Councillors, pastors, business people. It's only going to be 12 homes in every constituency across the constituencies of 8 constituencies. It should bring in about 96 households that will be surveyed, that will allow us to get a more granular understanding of what is happening at the community level in the households. Again, so that we are able to guide some policies in the town of Linden. So that should be expected to happen on this weekend to come.
And I'm sure that you will share that information with us once it would have been tabulated and analyzed.
Public the data and the information and the analysis, and it will be shared for anyone who wants it, because we would like to encourage communities across Guyana to understand, in the absence of a census and in the absence of a conversation nationally that is taking place, it could only be done with a clear understanding of what information we're going to be relating that to. It's encouraging to see the government is putting out a portion of the census now. But I believe also these sort of community surveys, because they're more current, they're more recent, they provide a more updated understanding of what is happening specifically to communities. It provides a more relevant, timely understanding of what is happening in the socioeconomic context. So I just want to emphasize to residents that it will be happening this weekend, and we will share the information publicly. The data, sorry, not their public, not their personal information, for the data, sir.
Yes, of course. And again, we say thanks to those media houses who joined and those persons joining us online. Do have a great day. We are going to endeavor to send the statement from the mayor's office to the media house within the hour. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Recording stopped.